Hello and welcome to the Empowered Professionals presentation of how to create more time in your life for the things that actually need to get done. My name is Katrina Parsons. I'm co-founder of the Empowered Professional. My partner and friend Casey Peak and I created this company in hopes of helping people just like you every single day actually achieve your dreams and meet your career goals. With a background in business and recruiting and being a coach and a vision guide, I understand what it's like when time kind of catches up with you. I'm sure that you guys have experienced a time at the end of the day or maybe the end of the week or the next morning when you're laying awake in bed and you realize like 5 or 6 different things that you really wanted to do yesterday. Maybe something you promised to do that you totally forgot or you just didn't get to. This happens to me sometimes and I hate it. So what can you do about it? How can you create more time in your life? Have you ever said, I just wish there were more hours in the day? Or I don't have time for that. Well, I'm going to teach you some tips in this video of exactly how to get past that. Get past that mindset and create more time in your day. Have you ever heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? I'm going to give you a quick short tutorial about those needs and how they represent themselves in time. Think about what matters most to us in life. You know, not the things you love, not the things you want, but what you really need for survival. Now, the very first thing, of course, is your physiological. You've got to breathe, you've got to eat, you've got to sleep, you've got to drink water. Those things in time are the things you do first in the day, right? And then it moves on to what keeps you safe and how you appear socially and your self-esteem. Now imagine looking at this jar, that the sand in the jar is everything that you want to do in a day. Okay, it's maybe watching your favorite TV show, it's checking your Facebook, it's hanging out and playing a cool game like that poker thing or that stupid Candy Crush game that you just can't get enough of. Maybe it's just grabbing a coffee with a friend. You know, the things in your day that don't really amount to a lot as far as productivity. Try shoving that sand in the bottom of a jar. Next comes the pebbles. Now the pebbles, the smaller rocks, those represent the things that are a little more important in your life, like your job, getting your house clean, taking the kids to school, you know, watching that big game that your son's playing in, the things that matter just a little bit more in your day. Maybe they're not, you know, survival, but they matter in your day. And then lastly, try to shove the big rocks on top. Now, the big rocks represent the things that are important and key to your survival. Eating right. You know, maybe your spirituality, going to church, if that's what you do, if that's your spiritual connection, you know, spending time with your family members that matter most to you, exercise, sleep. Oh my gosh, are we getting enough sleep? And how about paying attention to stress relief? Now, if you were to apply those things in a jar in the way they have in this picture, they don't all fit. And that's really what most of us are doing in a day. But if you pay close attention to the things that you need most and you put those in the jar first, the big rocks, right? What we just said, your physiological needs, the things that are important for survival, for keeping you healthy, for maintaining good relationships. Next go the pebbles, your job, right? You got to have a job. You got to have your finances in line to survive. You know, maybe going to the gym, things like that. And then lastly comes the sand. And if you do it in that order, they all fit in the jar. So the big rocks, just a brush up here, the big rocks are eating, exercise, sleeping, maybe your spirituality and your emotional connection, your emotional stability, your emotional health. Next comes the medium rocks, okay, the pebbles. Those represent your career, paying your bills, studying, learning more, becoming a better person, your family, maintaining your family relationships. And then the sand will represent all the other things in your day that are important, but not really necessary, like it'd be okay if you went a day without doing them. And that would be things like cleaning, running errands, having some fun, going on a vacation. Maybe you have a hobby, you know, anything else that you can think of in that regard. But how do you figure that out? How do you know what priorities are the big rocks and which ones are, the little rocks. Take a look at this grid here that I've created for you. I want you to think about all of the things you do in your day and make a list like we suggested in the email. Just write down what you do for a day. Try to do it every day. Think of it as like a food diary for time. And pay close attention to all the things that are on that list. And then you're going to use a grid just like this one, and you're going to look at the things that are urgent and important. Okay? And then you're going to look at the things that are important but maybe not urgent. They don't have to be done right this second. Next, you're going to look at the things that are urgent, but they're really not important. So they have to be done right now, but they could be done by somebody else. And then not urgent and not important. It's in life that you don't need to be doing. You're wasting your time, and it's really causing you trouble, right, with your time management. So as you're using this grid, really what you're going to do is you're going to take your list of things you're doing in your day, and you're going to pay attention to where they fall. We all have different ways of organizing ourselves. Our minds work differently. So have some fun with this process. Involve the family. But what things fall in the urgent and important realm? Those are the things that only you can do. Okay? And it's got to be done now. Like it's super urgent. And it's not something that someone can really do for you. It's got to be done now, and it's got to be done by you. Maybe grab some sticky notes and write each of those things on a sticky note and slap it on that grid under urgent and important. Maybe you've got to write that ever important business proposal that you've been putting off, or proposal to, make some money in some way. That's super important and really only something you can do. Maybe it's paying attention to your health. That's urgent, and only you can do it. Only you can eat right, drink water, go to the gym, get your doctor appointments in, pay attention to what's going on in your body. And that's pretty urgent. Okay, the number 2s on your list are things that aren't urgent, but they are important. They're a priority, but they can be planned for another time, right? Only you can do it, but you don't have to do it today. Maybe it's decluttering your office. That's really important because a cluttered office is a cluttered mind. And that can really make a difference in your life. Getting a dentist appointment or going to a doctor's appointment, that's really important, and it's really only something you can do, but you don't have to do it today. It doesn't have to be something that's nagging at you. It's something you can plan in the future. Now, the number 3s are probably going to be the hardest for us because they're urgent. They really have to be done, but they don't have to be done by you. So this is something you can delegate. Okay, you can call a friend, get your kids involved. This one's a lot of fun for me because I tend to do a lot of business outside of the home, but I work from home a lot of the time. And there are things that I have to take with me when I'm going to do a presentation. So this is a really time consuming, right? You can sit down and spend a lot of time packing your bag or your box of stuff, your markers, your eraser, your laptop, your projector, your water bottles, whatever it is that you take to those presentations. That could take me a lot of time out of my day. But maybe the kids could do it, right? And maybe they'd really enjoy it, and I could throw them $1 or take them to ice cream in exchange for helping me with that project. Maybe a neighbor could take the kids to school. Maybe it's not something that you have to do every day. Maybe you could take turns, right? So number 3s are going to be things like dropping the kids off at school or taking them to a sports event. Maybe you could drop them off, but someone else could pick them up. Get some help and delegate. Feeding the dog, that one falls under you can delegate. That's definitely a number 3. It's pretty important that it gets done, right? It's pretty urgent, I should say, that it gets done. But somebody else could do it. That's something else the kids could do. Feed that dog. The number 4s are not urgent, and they're not important. So if you get number 4s on your list, things that you really don't have to do, you could live without doing them. They don't have to be done. Dump them or put them on a much later list of things that you can do to reward yourself when you've done the other things. And these are things like sitting and playing games on your phone or just getting sucked into Facebook, right? How often do we do that? Just sit there and play games for hours on end, and we lose track of time, and we say things like, I don't have time. Arguing, oh my gosh, what a time sucker. I don't know if you're an arguer or not, but if you tend to be someone who gets in, arguments with the kids or the husband or whatever, arguing can really be a time sucker. And it's just get it out of here. We don't need it anymore in our lives. For now, I'd like you to only focus on the rocks and pebbles in your jar. I know that that's tough to do, but really just focus on the rocks and pebbles for a few days. Leave the sand out of it. I want you to complete the number ones on your list. Maybe 1 a day, maybe 3 a day, right? Set up a plan to get those things knocked out. I want you to plan the number 2s to be done in a timely fashion, whatever makes the most sense to you, prioritizing them by the things that are going to create the most value in your life. Maybe they are pushing you toward a particular goal or increasing your finances, but do those in a good, timely, prioritized fashion. I want you to practice delegating all of your number 3s, at least sharing them. It's okay to do that. It's okay to let go of it. If you don't love the way someone puts the dishes away, it's all right. Teach them to do it right. Or be accepting that there's a different way to do something and let the kids put the dishes away. I want you to do this. I want you to do your rocks and your pebbles and the 1s and the 2s and the 3s exercise every day until it becomes rhythm. And then I want you to consider adding in the sand. Try adding in the sand just a little at a time. Once you've gotten really good at your 1s, 2s, and 3s, reward yourself. Every time you do something on your number 1 list, allow yourself to add a little more sand in your jar and do something that's just, part of your day, but doesn't have to be. You're doing it just because you want to. Don't agree to do things that do not fall in one of these categories. I am so guilty of this. I love to do things for other people. It's easier for me to just say, I'll do it for you, than to look at their faces when I try to explain what they have to do. So just get used to saying, I'm not going to do that because it doesn't fall on my 1, 2, or 3 list. It's not something I can delegate. I'm going to ask you to do it instead. Or it is something you can delegate. I'm going to ask you to take ownership of this project. Consider doing the hardest thing first thing in the morning. These are your number 1s. This is your exercise. This is taking your vitamins. This is, making that tough phone call that you dread making. This is, whatever your number 1s that are the hardest for you to accomplish, consider doing those very first thing in the morning. It's always easier to do the tough things when you first wake up. It just is. Your mind is more refreshed. You get it over with, and then you have the whole rest of your day to not worry about it. It's a lot better to do it that way than to have it looming behind you the entire day, putting it off until you have to do it. Every time something comes up that's new, that you think of, put it on a sticky note. Where does it go in the graph? Where does it fall? And what are you going to do with it? The next time you hear yourself saying, I don't have time, I want you to try replacing it with, it's just not a priority right now. You might find that your priorities shift. You might find that you're making the wrong things priority, that you're giving too much time to things that really don't matter. But try saying, it's not a priority to me right now. I can't tell you how many times in a day I'll give someone advice to switch up their diet or just to go to the gym because it changes your outlook. And they'll say to me, I don't have time. And I'll say right back to them, or is it that it's not priority? And you should see the way their faces change. Okay, guys, your power plan steps that we give you every Tuesday, those are number 1s. Those are rocks. Those go in your jar first. Make time for that little action every single day, right in the morning. It will make a difference. And last, but so importantly not least, forgive yourself for not being all things to all people. Wow, that's a tough one, isn't it? I don't have to be all things to all people. I don't. But I do need to do what I say I'm going to do. I do need to follow through on my commitments. So I'm going to be really careful from now on not to commit to anything that I am not sure falls on my list in number 1 or number 2, or that I can delegate it. I'm just not going to do it. And then I'm going to forgive myself for that because people do understand. That's all we have for you today on time. It's a big, wide, wonderful world, time, and you really do have as much of it as you need if you use it properly. Now, this is not the only exercise that you can use to organize your time. It's just the only one I can give you in 15 minutes or less. But I would encourage you to get really good and practice managing your time and putting those priorities first and delegating and forgiving yourself. You will start to see a change in the way your day shapes. You will start to see a change in your success. So for now, I encourage you to check out our website, get to know more about how we can benefit you in your search for the perfect career and the ideal life.